Welcome to Insights into Northeast Michigan, a WBKB News public affairs program. Insights deals with the issues affecting those in the community, as well as Northeast Michigan and the state. And now, Insights into Northeast Michigan.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Insights into Northeast Michigan. I'm Lindsay DeLucia. Today, we're talking about the group Taking Pride in Alpena, a group here in Alpena that is trying to develop the South Bay Corridor and further it in our community. So first, I'm here with TJ Toussaint. Hi, TJ. Thanks so much for joining us. Township Clerk.
Yes.
Well, welcome. And if you could first kind of tell me a little bit about your part in Taking Pride in Alpena.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'll give you a little bit of history of the US 23 corridor. And Alpena Township became a zone community back in 1970s. And at that time, we set out, we did all of our ordinances and the zoning laws. And our zoning laws have pretty much stayed the same from the 70s till the present. So most of the areas that were zoned, the way they were zoned back in the 70s, are still zoned the same way. At the time, they really did think ahead, and they tried to anticipate the growth on US 23. Because 23 at the time was the big, the major place where all our growth was happening. What happened is we had the Alpena Mall come in the late 70s, early 80s, and the Alpena Mall was very successful. And as the Alpena Mall started to grow, we saw a lot of growth happening out there. We saw the McDonald's and the Arby's and the Burger King all sprout up, and a couple of other businesses grew. And what happened, though, is with the national trends in the late 80s, early 90s, we saw a movement away from malls, and they wanted to go more toward big box stores and stuff like that. And the 23 corridor had a lot of existing buildings, didn't have a lot of empty space. So what ended up happening is the retailers who came in started looking elsewhere, and they looked on M32. And on M32, there was a lot of empty space, so they were able to build, and we saw the Staples go out there, and then we saw Walmart and Home Depot all go out there. So we started to have two separate corridors. And so when that M32 started to grow, we started to see a decline on on US 23. So with that decline, we started, we were concerned, but as a whole, the community was growing, so that was a good thing. Most of the emphasis for any potential growth on 23 was put on the business owners trying to, it's your business, your corridor, what can you do to help the businesses come? We can attract them to Alpena Township, but we can't tell them where to locate. And if you guys can give them a reason, to locate in your corridor, that's great. And we've seen that group, the Taking Pride in Alpena now, is really trying to get that group together, and they're trying to make the area much more attractive to those businesses.
Right. So you touched on the fact that the development of M32 led a bit to the decline of the South Bay Corridor on 23. So tell me a little bit about how we see these effects still today.
Well, you can see, like we just had the Meijer come in. Once again, Meijer wanted to locate where the traffic was at, and there was more traffic on M32, so that's Meijer's going to locate over there. And it's tough to, once you have a district that's starting to decline, new businesses don't want to go where business is declining. So it's, it just feeds on itself. More businesses come in that look, they're not going to look to where the traffic is declining, they're going to look to where the traffic is increasing. And most of that increased traffic is happening on M32. So it's trying to give retailers and people a reason to come back to US 23. And efforts are being made to beautify it, make it look better, and all those things do help. But retailers are still looking for the increased traffic.
Right, and you did say you've been in this position for not very long, right?
I've been here for about a year now, and it's very it's kind of indicative. We had the person who was in my job prior was here for 40 years, and a lot of the other elected officials have been there for a long time, and we see things that are going along okay, and we become a little complacent. So sometimes a new person coming in is sort of like what we need, maybe to start us to looking at yeah, things are okay, but can we do better? And we are seeing a lot of more interest in the community as a whole, And that's just national trends, though, too. You know, we can't say, you know, we've done anything specifically. It's just that, you know, the economy's picking up, businesses are starting to expand and wanting to go places, and we are starting to see that here in Alpena.
That's great. And being in the position you are in, what kind of issues do you see that revolving around this, you know, the South Bay Corridor and the decline, or just kind of the redevelopment? What issues do you see, and how is I guess, you know, the township addressing them and the group taking part in Alpena?
Well, one of the issues that seems to be of concern for many people, even the citizens, is, you know, they always talk about the blight that's occurring on M30 on US 23. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the blight is just a lack of care by businesses or property owners. And there's not a lot that the township really can do about some of the blight. I mean, what's blight to some people is, you know, just normal to other people. Mm-hmm. We can help, you know, clean up the trash and stuff like that, and people are doing that. But when it comes to, you know, condemning properties and stuff like that, it's, you know, it's a difficult proposition for the township to take on, because there's an added cost that, you know, the township just does not have. We don't have the ability to go out and fight everybody and try to get properties, you know, cleaned up, because we just don't have the money.
Right, so you absolutely value these types of groups, I take it.
Oh, we do, we do. We encourage them. The hard part with them is a lot of them are coming, when they come to us, they want us to, you know, to once again, maybe throw money at the problem.
Right.
We don't have the money. We can give you the support, and we can give you ideas, but, you know, a lot of it has to be done through, you know, your own elbow grease and getting out there and doing it yourself, you know.
Yeah, which they definitely have a lot of.
They have, and it's really encouraging to see that, because you're seeing, you know, a lot of businesses in the community on 23, you know, they are taking pride in that area, and you are seeing properties getting cleaned up, and that's, you know, that's hopefully will help, you know, reach the other people who are coming in to look. They'll see that there's effort being made there, so maybe this is a place that we do want to locate.
Right. So tell me a little bit, there's been a lot going on with taking pride in Alpena, and even in the past couple of months. We'll touch on that with Larry Clark a little bit later. But tell me what you guys have been interacting with them about in the, you know, past couple of months.
Most of the thing is, you know, they are applying for grants, and we are very supportive of the grants that they're applying for and helping them raise money. The township as a whole, you know, we can't get into the raising money aspect. That's not the township's responsibility or duty. We can't do that. But we can make sure that the people out there know that the township is supporting the efforts. And so some of the proposals, you know, they're just proposals. They aren't necessarily what's going to happen. And we encourage everybody to think big. You know, let's hope and try to get something. You know, just because we are trying to get it doesn't mean it's going to happen. But sometimes, you know, by trying to get one thing, you get something else,
right.
And that can be a good thing. You know, any potential growth is good for the community.
Right. It could be a catalyst for something bigger.
Correct.
Absolutely. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think that, you know, the important thing is we know that the community wants to grow. We know the people that are working there, that own businesses there, would like to see it grow, and we're doing what we can. One of the things I didn't mention is, you know, we had the bike path that was put in the late 80s, and we were able to do that through the state. The state actually paid to help us put that in, and there was a cost for us. We have to maintain it. And, you know, and little things like that, you know, people don't often realize that, you know, that's a cost we really didn't anticipate. And, you know, so we do pay to maintain it, and, you know, and we'd like to see it maybe improved, because there are a lot of complaints about the bumpiness of the bike path over there. And I know Taking Pride in Alpena is one of their goals is to make the bike path more, you know, drivable.
Right.
You know?
Yes.
And the more traffic you have in an area, the more people want to be in that area. I mean, they see businesses happening, and they think, oh yeah, it's a happening place. It's a place that, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on. So we're very, very encouraged by what we're seeing going on.
Definitely. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us, TJ. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And stay tuned. Coming up next, we'll be talking with Larry Clark, who is one of the leaders of Taking Pride in Alpena. So stay tuned. Welcome back to Insights into Northeast Michigan, everyone. I'm Lindsay DeLucia, and I'm here with Dennis Schultz. Welcome, Dennis. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for asking.
And you are the president of Tim Construction. So tell me a little bit about how your career occupation kind of got you involved in taking pride in Alpena.
Okay, well, briefly, I'm an aeronautical engineer. Retired early at 30 to come to Alpena to go into construction with my father, and we've been in business now 40 some years since I returned. And We have properties on 23 South that we purchased because of our business growth, the Old Herb Lumber property. And as we began developing that and realizing that, you know, the area had a lot of deterioration, we started visiting with other business folks like Hal and Neiman down the street and Bob Young, and just started collaborating on the side. And felt we got to do something to help grow the area the way it was for a number of years.
Right. So how long ago was this? When did everything kind of
I'd say
start?
probably about 4 years ago, we started just emailing each other and meeting over coffee once in a while. And that didn't have much traction until we collaborated with the folks that were walking down the sidewalk picking up trash, the neighbors. And Larry Clark had been aware of those folks, and we started getting together after that, and that's really when the whole Taking Pride and the South Bay development really started taking some energy.
All right, so it gained some traction. You guys got going a little bit. So tell me kind of those first few years, what was done, what you talked about, and what your efforts were.
You know, we had some real challenges because we're private people, private businesses, and private citizens. And the work that we're trying to do is really a core government responsibility, but the township's finances have restricted them to have development as part of their business. On the side, I might mention that I'm also part of Target Alpena Economic Development, so I have another broader perspective that we had been working on aggressively almost during the same time frame in Northeast Michigan. And back to where we were as a group, we met in one of our conference rooms for, I think, a couple of years, and just discussed, had a lot of support from NEMCOG in the process, their Northeast Council of Governments, and they knew the in and outs of the process, collaborated all during this time with the Alpena Township Plan Commission, as well as the Township Board. Understanding of the cost limitations, we took the responsibility of driving it forward.
That's great. And so if you could tell me a little bit, being a business on 23, and you said that that's, you know, how you got into this, and a lot of businesses on 23 are experiencing these efforts now. So why do you think these efforts are important in
Well, they're really critical to our community in the sense that every time a person comes to town, they bring the potential of moving here or bringing a business here, even though they may be visitors. And the better presentation we have at the front door is critical to all of our success. In the construction business, it's obvious. We don't build anything unless there is growth and homeowners and businesses improving. A deteriorating environment does no business or homeowner any good, for that matter, relative to the job growth that they may or may not have. So that's the driving force that I think all business people, as well as all citizens, think is very important. And that was really the genesis behind it. Now, in parallel with that, it costs a lot to improve a facility, and once you do that, and then you go to market it, and the market is half the cost of what you put into it, that's not a good formula for success as well. So a growing environment generates growth and values as well, both for the homeowners as well as businesses.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about the progress you guys have made over the past few years.
Well, slow but sure would be the way I would describe it. We've come from just visiting and having a cup of coffee and maybe complaining a little bit to implementing some ideas. And later today, you'll listen to Larry share some of our really exciting plans that we have for the very near future. Challenges are obviously related to finances, but the community has been phenomenal in supporting us broadly across the board, not just in the south side. We've got calls from the north side, people downtown, participants in Osneek, and everyone wants their community to be presented well. And so after meeting and chatting about this, getting the support from folks like NEMCOG and the township, at first I think they were apprehensive about what we were doing because it is sort of a scary thought to transition an area. But we've had a very good relationship and a very good common goal together. I think we're making a lot of headway.
Right. So speaking of, some of the obstacles maybe you've been facing, obviously, with change comes some doubt, and you get that from everyone in every area. So tell me a little bit about more.
Sure, we've had that too. Every person does, and we've had some broad perspectives. They aren't specific, but we try to incorporate folks in recreation. The bicycle folks were anxious to have some path improvements and maybe development. One of our early ideas that Bob Young had, I think here, and Hal primarily, is that we have a lot of people stopping at the 45th parallel and taking pictures, and the traffic's going 55 and 60 miles an hour. Not a safe situation, but yet it's kind of a neat place to be, halfway between the equator and the North Pole.
Yeah.
So a park was discussed and is discussed, a couple other maybe kayak landings and that sort of thing. So back to the pros and cons of that. The pros are obvious to those who enjoy it. The cons are, well, maybe it's near a neighbor that didn't expect any activity. So we're working with those folks, listening to them, and making sure their considerations are heard and are part of the dialogue. Given those obstacles, I think the opposite side of it is that the enthusiasm for the folks in general has improved, and even those that were apprehensive, I think, are understanding the general values overall.
That's a great thing. It's hard not to see the benefits that this could do.
It is, and even to the extent today, if you drove down there, I mean, the citizens and the businesses have collaborated. They're painting homes, and just simple as painting a fire hydrant, painting a sign. They pointed out some signs of businesses that hadn't been in business for years, and we negotiated with the owners and took them down and cleaned them up. Even today, as I leave my office, I noticed that the vacant Dunkin' Donuts yard is being, the grass is being cut and the windows are being washed. So even our vacant buildings are going to start to look better.
That's a great thing. All right. Well, there's a lot that Taking Pride in Alpena is doing, and we really hope to see it in the near future. So we are very
thank you very much. We're anxious to move to the next step.
All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
And coming up next, we will be speaking with Larry Clark to go over some more of what they're doing right now and what their plans are for the near future. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Insights into Northeast Michigan, everyone. I'm here now with Larry Clark from Taking Pride in Alpena. Welcome.
Thank you, Lindsay. Thanks so much for having me back on your show again.
Of course, always welcome. So if you could first tell me a little bit, we talked to TJ about the history of South Bay Corridor. We then talked to Dennis about the kind of development of Taking Pride in Alpena. So now if you could just kind of catch us up on the last month or so of what you guys have been doing.
Okay, if you don't mind, I'd like to back up slightly further and take it where Dennis left off. Dennis was telling us about how we've really endeavored to include the community in this program, not just the business aspect or not just the residents, but really a combination of businesses, residences, community governments such as the township and others, the county, and also even special interest groups such as the Audubon Society and the Indians, the Saginaw Chippewa Band of Indians, and other environmental groups as well, such as Huron Pines. And toward those end, and really an effort to have this become a broad-based effort and to really for the community to feel that this is their program, not just ours. We've had 2 public input sessions at the Alpena Mall. The last one, which was in July of 2014, last year, drew some 80 residents. It was hosted by NIMCOG, Northeast Michigan Council of Governments. And they had the citizens list their likes and dislikes about the South Bay Corridor, in which they compiled that. And there were a number of likes, so people really enjoyed the natural beauty of the area, certainly Squaw Bay. They enjoyed the ability to walk down the bike path and so forth. And they just enjoyed other parts of it, about the rural setting and so forth. And of course, there were a number of dislikes as well, including the blight, and including vacant buildings. So all of those things were compiled by NIMCOG, which developed a South Bay Corridor redevelopment plan. Now, this part of US 23 and all of US 23 from Standish to Mackinac City is part of the US 23 Heritage Route, some 23 miles of it. And we were selected on US 23 South to become the initial project for economic development along that corridor as part of the Heritage Route process due to the strong volunteer effort. That redevelopment plan I just mentioned, one of the first points on it was to improve the aesthetics of that area, both from a commercial standpoint and from a recreational standpoint. Therefore, NIMCOG was looking for us, and we were searching as well for a number of grants that we could apply for that would help us toward that redevelopment plan. Well, fortunately, we came upon a Department of Environmental Quality, DEQ, Coastal Zone Management Grant, which was developed by DEQ in combination with NOAA for communities within 1,000 feet of a Great Lakes shoreline. Obviously, we fit those requirements. We applied for that grant in December of 2014. It was a $70,000 estimated project cost for the initial planning and design work, $35,000 for the grant, and of course $35,000 match from the community. We immediately instituted a fundraising effort, and with businesses and residents and the governments and granting agencies locally all being contacted, and a number of local fundraisers as well. A sale went on for some 2.5 months at St. Vincent. We had a number of fundraising events at the bowling alley, which a number of people attended, and a big block party on Bear Point. And I've said before on your show what a wonderful turnout, and how Alpena just showed up in force to support this, both in terms of money, having us raise some $36,000, and also just words of encouragement as people saw us and contacted us. The media just did an outstanding job, including certainly WBKB, in carrying this and keeping it top of mind with people, encouraging people to participate, and they sure did in a big way. Well, unfortunately, about a week ago, Monday, we were notified by the DEQ that our request for the grant was denied. Given that we didn't have the grant match money up front, we raised it during the course of the period after the grant. Well, you know, any good plan like this, of course, has a plan B. We had notified the community all along that there was a possibility that the grant may not be approved, and we would be happy to refund any monies. People would like refunds, and that is, there's an ad appearing in the paper tomorrow advising people of that, if they'd like to have their money back, who to contact and such. But if they would like to hang with us, the next step in our plan B, if you will, is really a twofold process, and that is to work through Michigan State University with their School of Design, Planning, and Construction in two principal areas within that school, one being landscape architecture and one being the Urban and Regional Planning Department. Now, the landscape architecture, that is really the initial part of this project. There will be 4 students coming to Alpena this fall, as early as September 14th or September 21st is the target date. And then we'll start on the initial inventory assessment of what we have on 23 South. They'll be looking at preliminary environmental impact and feasibility studies, cost estimates, and that sort of thing. And we are really welcoming them. It's an important development, and we're just happy that we can continue the momentum that has been generated by us in the community and take it to the next step. In addition, very soon we'll be releasing an RFP, a request for a proposal, for a landscape architect, a professional landscape architect. And this firm will be overseeing the students and providing guidance toward the project completion and so forth. And to remind your viewers kind of briefly what the proponents are, or what the scope of services will be for this project. First of all, it's a redesign of the commercial corridor on US 23 from Mischiquibus Park down to Bear Point Plaza. It's some 2 miles. And the latest trend now in zoning and land use is something called placemaking. And that's the development of mixed use areas where you combine businesses, residences, green space and such, and make it more pedestrian friendly instead of just car friendly. We envision hopefully a new sidewalk with park benches and green lighting and trees and artwork, and just make it a comfortable place for for people to walk and shop and that sort of thing. Also, we'll be looking at, through MDOT, what's called an access management study to reduce number of driveways and implement service roads where feasible. So number one would be a commercial corridor revitalization. The second main part of the scope of services will be the addition of recreational amenities. And we live in such a beautiful area, and coming into Alpena from 23 South, we approach Squaw Bay, is just such a natural setting. And a lot of people are stopping on the roadway to take pictures of the bay and the 45th parallel sign. So we propose a park there, another possible park in the area of Squaw Bay, and then a number of bike paths and canoe launches to tie everything together. So the whole area will become what we envision is a place where people want to work and visit and live, and just be just a welcoming addition and pride to everybody when they come into Alpena.
Absolutely. And before we head out, is there any way that people can get involved? This is a full community effort now. So if people do want to donate, even, you know, if they want, you said you could get the refunds, but if they do want to donate more money to the cause, is there anything they can do to get involved? Yes,
they can certainly contact me, and we still have our South Bay Corridor Association is still in place, and we can still accept donations and such. And I think people, when they start to see the students in town and everything, it's going to be, I think, just rewarding to all of us that, you know, we can pitch in and together really get something done in our community.
Definitely. Well, we're definitely looking forward to everything that can be done in the area and all of your efforts as well. So thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. And tune in next week to Insights into Northeast Michigan for more. Thanks so much for watching.
Insights into Northeast Michigan is produced by WBKB News. If you have any comments, suggestions, or topics you would like to see on a future show, please email WBKB News. This has been a production of Thunder Bay Broadcasting Corporation. All rights reserved.
The furniture and set design for this episode of Insights is provided by Young Appliance Art Van Furniture on US 23 South, Alpena.